Okay, we have a lot to talk about here. This is meteorologist Alex Tardy with the National Weather Service office out of San Diego. We're going to talk about increasing Santa Ana winds, three different events, prolonged dry air that is already in place and continuing. Santa Ana winds look to increase, and strongest winds could be early next week, especially on Tuesday. Very dry air and high fire danger. Again, this is Alex Tardy, National Weather Service. Here are the highlights. We're going to talk about a red flag warning is in effect. This is for north of San Diego County. We are talking about a week of dry air that's been in place with continued weak Santa Anas, and the bottom line is that's dried out the fuels. We're looking at Santa Ana winds increasing to at least moderate levels, and this brings critical fire danger. We're also looking at very warm temperatures near record. We're talking about two surges of Santa Ana winds that'll first occur through Friday morning and another one again Saturday afternoon and Saturday night. Then another system, much different because it's colder, will occur next week, looking like it'll target our region in Southern California on Tuesday. That storm could bring locally strong Santa Ana winds, also some scattered showers, mainly in the mountains and deserts under that upper low. It also will return the cold nights to the mountains and deserts. Now, overall, we're not looking for significant precipitation through maybe late in January. This is what it looks like so far for the start of our water year 2020-2021. 25 to 50% of average precipitation. It's not just Southern California, it's most of the Southwest. But so far, two storms have only materialized of any significance. If we look from last year to this year, the storm track. The bright orange-red shaded areas are where it's much warmer in the atmosphere than it should be compared to average. Last year, that blocking upper-level high pressure pushed all the storms north of us, but did allow, with its position, a couple really strong storms to move into Southern California. This year, that high-pressure system has pushed more to the east, kind of where it was this summer, right over us. And that is making for even drier conditions statewide, blocking most storms, and we are on the dry side or the Santa Ana side of this storm track so far. Now, is this because of La Nina? Well, La Nina, the cold phase of the ocean temperatures along the equatorial Pacific Ocean, is in place. So we do see at least a weak La Nina along the equator. But that was not there last year. And we also see continued warmer than usual ocean temperatures across most of central and eastern Pacific Ocean. We are talking about potential for records with this first series of Santa Ana winds. And it looks like Friday is going to be our hottest day. Here are some of the records that are at stake. We've been seeing wind all week. Here's a look at the wind we saw earlier in the week. These are peak wind gusts on January 11th. Those wind gusts were even stronger across our northern areas. What you're looking at here are the locations we refer to as wind-prone to Santa Ana winds. These are wind gusts that occurred on January 11th. The wind continued most of the week, and we even saw some moderate wind gusts on Wednesday, January 13th, especially in the Cajon Pass, as shown here. The Santa Ana winds have been. And speaking of the dry air and the impact on our vegetation or fuel moisture, we now see levels that were at average levels during the late December, early January from that rainfall to levels that are now approaching record lows. So we've seen a rapid drying because of the persistent weak, dry Santa Ana winds over the past week. This leads us to the critical fire danger. Now, what is a Santa Ana weather pattern? This is what our current conditions look like. Surface high pressure blowing high to low from the Great Basin. And that area is very dry, not because it's a desert, but the air mass is very dry. This is the wind that we call Santa Ana. The wind can't go through our mountains, so it enhances. It goes between the mountain passes, or it's forced to go up and over. This map here is a depiction of the expected peak wind gusts in miles per hour This will be through Friday morning, primarily Thursday night and Friday morning with the strongest winds, where we do have the potential, as shown in the orange shaded, of winds over 50 miles per hour, and even some wind gusts up around 60, 65 miles per hour in the most wind-prone areas. You can see some of that wind does extend down towards the valleys and the coastal areas, but it is mainly confined to the wind-prone areas. Now, let's not forget the first series of Santa Ana winds are very warm, making them different. More like the Santa Ana winds you're familiar with. Temperatures could be record levels, especially with our hot temperatures expected 15 to 20 degrees above average on Friday and Saturday. Now we have another surge of wind that looks to be not as strong, occurring mainly late Saturday and Saturday night as shown here. And again, our wind-prone corridors receive the strongest winds. In this case, it looks like wind gusts primarily 35 to 50 miles per hour. What is the weather pattern going on that's causing this? As shown here, the weather pattern is upper level high pressure, still dominating the dry system. But we see a very strong storm to our east, and that's what's causing these enhanced or stronger Santa Ana winds that are developing for Thursday night and Friday. Now, the next system on Saturday, you can see is much weaker. It goes by to the east, but it's a much weaker system, so we're not expecting as strong of an offshore flow. Now, what changes? Well, the weather pattern flattens out on Sunday, and then it really amplifies on Monday. We can see Sunday, Monday, a weather system starts to back into Southern California, up and over that unusual upper level high pressure, following that storm track down into Southern California. Now, what happens next week on Monday and Tuesday? Well, initially this storm backs into Southern California, and then it parks right over Southern California as shown here, potentially bringing much colder but also windy conditions. That same setup of surface high pressure over the Great Basin keeps our wind speeds up, keeps that offshore flow blowing across Southern California. This does introduce a new challenge though, because the winds could be a little more widespread and it'll be much cooler. That weather system takes its time, but by mid next week or Wednesday, it looks to start exiting, so the winds will start to come down. But overall, look what's happening in the west. Potentially much colder air settling across much of the west as shown here, as that weather pattern draws that air down from Canada. Here are some of the highlights. Take a look at your particular location. If you're in a wind-prone area, those are listed. If you're in a coastal or even a desert area, well, you'll see less wind. You still have the potential for some wind on Friday morning and especially on Tuesday and Tuesday night. Here are the wind gusts for the final in this series of events, and they look to be more widespread as mentioned, with the focus being next week centered around Tuesday. We certainly could see some wind gusts over our mountain passes and our foothills that exceed 60 miles per hour, and even seeing winds that exceed 30 to 40 miles per hour going to coastal communities. Now take a look at this. We might even see a chance of showers next week if that storm does park right over Southern California as shown here. The potential for any more rainfall of significance. It does look like once that cold weather pattern sets in, that by late January, that might open the door for some precipitation, at least in Northern California. Whether it reaches Southern California, it's unknown at this time and uncertain, but at least we see a shift in the weather pattern, initially with very cold air penetrating in the northwest, and then potential for the storm track sagging southward. Here are the highlights. We see a series of new Santa Ana wind events. Those start on Thursday night and Friday and repeat again Saturday afternoon into Sunday morning. The strongest winds will be Friday morning. This is peak Santa Ana season, so this is not unusual to have Santa Ana wind events, but it is unusual how dry we are. The very dry air, the low humidity, and now the record warmth is paying a toll and rapidly drying out our fuel moistures. So we are in high fire danger, especially for wind-driven wildfires. So the winds seem to be more widespread potential early next week, Monday night through Tuesday night. That could result in some localized wind damage as well. The shower potential is limited, but it does exist next Tuesday and Wednesday. We do shift to a much colder weather pattern starting Monday with a strong cold front. Now, the outlook doesn't support significant precipitation for Southern California, but we do see some changes, especially mid to late January. Now, next week, we don't want to forget, we do have elevated surf that's been ongoing, and it is expected to increase early next week again. And the other issue is we're going to see cold morning low temperatures, especially when that cold air moves in and we have our mountain valleys and our high deserts with dry cold air. So that looks to be Tuesday through Thursday with some of the coldest low temperatures below freezing. Make sure you check for watches and warnings that are posted daily or any time of the day at weather.gov San Diego. And then follow us on social media. Thank you and stay safe.